good afternoon, evening, I guess it is. Beautiful beings of light. Welcome to the
Where
Crone
you
Zone Conversations with
Oh.
the Ancients. And today we have the beautiful Gingerfae with us. Gingerfae Musings, Tarot and Divine Musings. I love that name.
Divine Musings. Thank you.
Divine Musing. I think that's a brilliant name.
Yeah.
How are
And
you
I did draw
doing?
a card for this show.
Oh,
and
good.
It goes along with all the cards I've been getting when I do daily stuff, and it's balance.
Right.
Angel of balance.
We always need to be balanced.
Mhm.
Yes.
I don't know if anybody here doesn't know Ginger. I think most people in our chat will probably know Ginger pretty well. But I don't know if you know anything about her background or how she got to be the divine musing that she is. And she's going to tell us a little bit about herself today. And we're gonna ask her some questions and find out more about her background and how her spiritual journey started, those sorts of things.
So that we know her better.
Oh,
Exactly.
Thank you.
And but before we get there, let's say hi to Nancy of Crone's Intuition and Flower Beauty Peacock Rainbow and Teresa Levine and Hey White Dragon and Mary Helen and Aquila and Jay Marcus. Wow. Hi everyone. Welcome. 8 o'clock is such a different vibe than 3 o'clock in the afternoon, doesn't it?
Right. It does.
It does.
It's
And I'm
really-
still trying to get used to it because I still come up to, gonna have a show now. Nope, not now. It's much.
So it's what, 6 o'clock your time?
6
Yeah.
o'clock. And before it was like 1 o'clock. We hit because we were doing 3 o'clock on the East Coast.
I
But
see.
1 o'clock just is a mess in the middle of the day.
It is in the middle of the day, middle of the errands and stuff.
Yeah, but I've been doing it for so long. I was just used to it, and I just planned around it. But she's got more people planning around than me, so.
Yeah, I came up here to help with some family medical issues. There's a lot, doctor's appointments and stuff, PT, all these things that I just can't do and get back here. Everything was always planned at the wrong time.
Yeah.
You can post questions about the subject today, and I do have a banner, and we love questions and chat participation. So not questions about yourself, but questions to Ginger and what the information that she's bringing to us today, or anything like that, but just not personal questions. So, hey, Laura. So, Ginger, I'm going to ask the first question. Basically, when did your gifts start showing up? Or are you a lifetime medium?
When did you realize it?
Yeah, when did you actually
Well,
realize?
when I realized about the mediumship in my life was, as I was growing up, I had things happen and stuff, but the mediumship kind of
even the psychic, or any of those
Or
gifts.
any of your gifts.
Oh, well, when I was younger, of course, I wanted to be I Dream of Jeannie, versus Bewitched. I just wanted to make things happen. And of course, Bewitched, the nose thing. And, but I noticed at a younger age, if I would think about something, it would happen. And I mean, I didn't do it a lot enough to know that that's, really what was going on. Until like 7th grade, I was like, did I just make that happen?
Right.
And dreams. Oh my gosh. I think I'm going to sneeze. It's one of those where, are you or aren't you? Ooh.
Yep.
It's teasing me.
No worries. No worries.
So with the mediumship, I was doing, it was after work, and my little setup was in my bedroom, and I was playing with the cards. I love spreads, so I love to do tarot spreads and stuff. And then my son comes walking in when he got home, and he had this sad look on his face. And I said, "What's wrong?" And he said one of the special needs students passed away unexpectedly last night. So
Right.
I have a son with autism, and when my younger son got into high school, he volunteered in the classes to help out with the special needs students. So when he told me that, I had this vision, and I said, did she have blonde hair and dark rimmed glasses? Well, he didn't even say it was a he or she, you know. And he said, yes, it was. And he said her name. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I just, you know, it's a sad news. So since I had my cards in front of me, I said, why don't we see if I can pull some cards that you can convey a message to people, you know, not necessarily like a eulogy. But as I was shuffling, this feeling came over me. Oh my gosh, I'm going to get emotional already.
I love that.
This feeling came over me, and I said, oh my God, I think she's wanting to do this message. So I started pulling, and it was the most magical thing. And I'm already getting goosebumps. Emotion came over me, and I was crying. And she was just saying all these beautiful things like, you know, don't cry for me. I'm freed of my earthly limitations.
How beautiful.
She was like, I'm in the kingdom of our creator. She wanted everybody just to not stop for her, to keep spreading love and compassion to everybody. And it was just so amazing that, so that was my first experience with mediumship.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And how old were you when that first happened? You already had sons, so you were.
Yeah, I was 15. I was probably around 40, between 45 maybe ish, 46.
Right.
Yeah.
So later in life.
Yeah. And then I was taking some classes with friends of mine, and I had a pairing off. Oh, it was a tarot meetup. And I had a pairing off. It was an odd number, and I happened to get paired off with the teacher herself, or hostess.
Nice.
And I'm like, no pressure there.
Yeah.
And so it was one card reading, and I was giving her reading, and she was saying nothing. I'm like, I must be bombing. And then when she was finished, she says, you were so spot on. I am studying things from Egypt, and talking about her spirit guides. But then it was her turn to read for me. And she said, you like to look around your house and think it's haunted. And I said, I know my house is haunted. And she said, it's not your house, it's you. You're a natural born medium, and they're drawn to your energy. And so I come home and I'm thinking, oh, this can't be real. I mean, it's what I would love. Be real. It must be my Meniere's disease. You know, I hear things, you know, and so I went to bed. I didn't say this to that lady, and I don't even think I said it out loud when I went to bed. I might have been thinking it. And in the middle of the night, I heard a young girl at my bedside say, but I thought we were real. I'm like, oh my gosh, you are real. And I have seen this little girl before. So it was just confirmation that I wasn't just seeing things, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. Do you know did you ever find out who the little girl was?
I think we have. Oh my gosh, she must be near me because I've just got goosebumps everywhere. So first time I saw her, I was staring. I have this beautiful half-arched window above my large windows in my bedroom. Mm-hmm. And I've never put curtains or anything over it because I like to watch the stars and the moon. And one night I was staring out the window, and I'm like, Ginger, you have to go to sleep. Close your eyes and go to sleep. So when I closed my eyes, I saw like her aura at my bedside. Like she was like this, watching me. And I opened my eyes hoping to see her, but I didn't. But I can see that she had like a page boy haircut. Um, I opened my eyes and closed them again, and she was still there. So to hear that voice later on. So we did. I started on YouTube on Amber Ton's channel, Lavender Moon, and I was doing tarot spreads at the time. But she would also have me on her channel talk about my paranormal experiences. And so when it came time for
to know more about paranormal experiences, yes,
that's my number one jam.
okay, that's cool to know.
So I developed a spread for how to communicate with spirits or loved ones who've passed. And so as we went live, she's like, why don't we try to communicate with the little girl? And I'm like, you've been reading my mind. I've been wanting to try something like this. So through that was born my series called Paranormal Investigations.
So is that on your YouTube channel?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done close to 20 episodes now. Some aren't up because I was also doing them on Lavender Moon's channel, and she's put her channel on pause right now. So not all of them are available. But so we investigated the little girl. And so within a 5-minute walking distance, I'm on the corner, and we have this long winding road. It's probably about a block long, but in the middle is a family cemetery.
Right.
And I believe she followed me home from there.
Right.
And then I had another medium tell me, you have a little girl there, and she doesn't belong to you. So she either belongs to the land or the house. And my house was newly built, so it had to be the land. So it had to come from her. So from there.
Was the family plot there? Did they had a house somewhere around that area?
They owned these are called the Campbell Farms. So they were the Campbells that
owned the entire farm.
Yeah. So I had a very good friend who she loves to sleuth. she found the actual manifest for the cemetery.
Wow.
And it fit the description and the age that the medium told me was that the little girl was here. And it was the only child. There's a lot of children born there, but they were mostly infants. She's the only child at that age, and it's about the age that I feel that she's, this tall. Her name is Sally.
And what was the year
that she passed? Well, here's the thing. I would have to look up that manifest again, but hers is the only stone missing from the cemetery.
Interesting.
So
was it at the 1800s or the early 1900s or something?
Yeah, it was late 18, early 19. And I plan to someday take my divining rods over there and see if I can find where she lays. But anyways, my friend, she found it looked like one of the family reunion. There was like 50 of them. And I'm looking at the picture and I'm like, oh, I wonder if I could find her somehow. Sitting in the front row was this little girl with this page boy haircut, and her arms were like this.
Oh, how funny.
And as I enlarged the picture, this little girl looks like me at that age with the same haircut.
Oh, Lord.
Yes. Yes.
So do you think she's another incarnation of you?
She could be, or one of my ancestors, and I just happen to, look like her. And then behind her was a woman that I swear looked like my grandmother. So, yeah. So
but you haven't do any ancestry to see if you were in?
Yeah, I had another friend look into ancestry. I don't see the connection yet with the Campbells, but you never know. You never know. So that was my first experiences with mediumship.
I was going to say how you described how she followed you out, from the cemetery. That points directly to why David refused to live close to a cemetery.
My husband, we looked at houses at Key West, and one of them was across the street from a cemetery, and he was like, no way.
No.
No, because he was very much a medium, which I'm not, but he was very much a medium, and they would follow him around. Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't want anything that close.
He didn't want that company.
When I entered, I always, because it's like a short wall around it, and a beautiful little gate, and so it's only about waist high, and I always ask permission. I haven't been there in a while, but I do ask for permission to go in. But I also say, I'm afraid no one has permission to follow me home. But I think she found her way here.
Right.
And the other medium told me that she just loves my energy in my life, and among the others that are here in the house. So another fascinating thing that happened was, I'm a single mom, and
us too.
when I had to let my boys go spend the weekend with their father, they didn't want to go. I didn't want them to go, but I felt weird about being in the house by myself. So I went to my bedroom, and before you enter my room, it's almost like a little alcove. And I stood outside the door and I said, will you please watch over and protect me while I sleep? And of course, I shut the door and I locked it because I didn't want any surprise people coming through. And my neighborhood was safe at the time, so I really had nothing to worry about. But I just felt weird being in the house by myself. So, and I don't think it was the same night, but another night I heard a male whispering on this side of my head, "I'm on the other side of the door." And I said, "Well, you don't have to stay there. Come on in." So, I felt I felt safe. And so the next day I connected with my friend who's a channel. She had more experience at channeling than I did. And I asked her, who could have this been? And she said, she got with her guides, her team, and got back to me and said, apparently you know who this is. I said, but I don't. And she says, he's some kind of a ward. And I'm like, what's a ward? And it didn't even dawn on me till later in the day, maybe even that night, I had asked somebody to watch over me, and I was standing on the side of the door when I asked, and he was letting me know he was there.
Isn't that beautiful? That is just gorgeous.
It was external. Both times I heard these. It wasn't, my guides speak to me internally, so to speak, through my thoughts or what have you. But these were external and loud, not just a.
Interesting. I have not heard external voices. I only hear internal voices.
I have, and it's so disconcerting because I may be asleep and I hear it and I'm instantly awake and go, hello.
And nobody's there.
Nobody's, but they woke me up speaking into my ear instead of in my head.
Yes.
Interesting. Ginger, when did you start a relationship with your guides? How old were you when you started?
Yeah, again, I was in my 40s. Let's see. That was probably around 2009 is when I revisited my tarot journey. So it was probably another year to 2 years when I realized, when taking some courses and stuff, that there's you talk to your guides. And so let's say about 14 years ago.
Yeah, that's
And
about when I first started
mhm, so I
getting
was,
information. I suppose
yeah,
2010, maybe 29. Well,
yeah.
but my information came through my husband, who was the medium. I wasn't. I was getting messages through him.
Mm, yeah.
And then, so until he died, he was actually my first guide that I heard.
Oh, okay.
He passed in 2015. He started talking to me in 2016.
Oh, sweet, sweet.
I thought it was crazy. Yay! But
Actually,
so,
I had my guide save my life. Um,
ooh, tell us about that.
I was this was about maybe eight years ago, maybe. Um, it was over the summer. School was beginning to start, and I worked for the school district. I was food nutrition manager at the time, and my special needs son's teacher came down with the flu, and I thought, how can you come down with the flu in the summertime? And school started, and my energy just felt low, and I started feeling bleh. And each day went by, I was feeling weaker and weaker, and too much information. The previous couple months, my menstrual cycle was very heavy, and so I decided, I think I have that summer flu, and I went to the doctor, and he says, you don't have the flu. But with the story I told him, he goes, let me do a blood test on you and check your blood levels and stuff. And so he was looking at my hands. He goes, you're very pale. And I said, okay. So the next morning I got up to go to work, and I just barely made it through the shower, collapsed a little bit after.
Wow.
And I was shaking. I was so weak. And so I was always afraid to call in sick. It's just not what I do. So I called my boss, and I was crying because I was so weak. And when you're weak, you get emotional, or at least I do.
Yeah.
So I sent the boys off to school, and I thought, I just need to rest. I fixed myself a scrambled egg, thinking, let's get some protein in me, and then I'll take a nap, and I'm going to sleep this flu off. So I laid down. No sooner did I lay down, I heard more in my head, not external, don't fall asleep. And knowing I have already a relationship with my guides, I immediately sat up, and I said, what is wrong with me? And I hear it again, don't fall asleep. And then not even 10 minutes later, the phone rang, and it was the doctor's office. And they said, we need you to go to the emergency room right now. You need a blood transfusion. So I called my neighbor, because I'm so weak. I figured I can't drive myself.
Can't drive. Yeah.
Luckily, he was home, and he took me, and I barely make it through the door. They had to get a wheelchair for me. And so my doctor came in, and I didn't want to tell her I heard voices. So I told her I was about ready to take a nap when I got the phone call. May I ask what would have happened if I fell asleep? And she says, you wouldn't have woken up. I had lost 2/3 of my blood volume.
How?
Through
Oh,
my
through the heavy periods.
Yeah.
Holy
And
moly.
she says the only blood I had, she made it sound like the only blood I had left was in my heart.
Right.
And so I was lucky that I woke up from sleeping the night before. The day before I went to the park, there's this lovely park with waterfalls. And I was really weak, and I didn't go as far as I normally did. I just thought I needed fresh air, exercise. So when I went back to the doctor, he was shaking his head, and I'm like, what's wrong? Thinking something else was wrong. He's like, you shouldn't even have been walking. I don't know how you were even walking.
Isn't that crazy?
And I said I was afraid I would get fired, so I had to keep going to work. But
but yay,
collapsed,
spirit guides! I love it.
had I
Especially
collapsed
when we
out in the
listen to it.
woods, had I collapsed out in the woods, the ambulance wouldn't have gotten there in time.
No.
You know, she said I would have died of a heart attack if I would have gone to sleep. So there's where I know I listened to my guides, and they saved my life.
Mine wake me up when my blood sugar's too low. They wake me up in the middle of the night. I wear a Dexcom because I'm type 1 diabetic. It's an autoimmune disease, adult onset, and it's really flaky. I can have high blood pressure. An hour later, I can have not blood pressure, blood sugar, and an hour later, I can have really low blood sugar. There's no sense to it that I can tell. Somewhat with what I eat, absolutely, but it's my spirit guides have saved my life numerous times that way through waking me up in the middle of the night or whatever. Yeah. It's crazy. But I love it.
I had a reading, and she told me, and this is when I was in my 20s, early 30s. She says you have you're a protector guide. And I said, he's helped me many times, because I grew up a tomboy, and I would do rock climbing. And one time I got myself into this situation that, oh my God, I'm going to die. I said, I'm sorry, you've worked overtime for me. And she said his name was Many Moons.
I think all of our spirit guides work overtime for us.
Yeah. I think they're used to it.
Yeah.
So he was a Native American named Many Moons, and then years later, I saw this like an explorer type channel, and I don't know if it was Lewis and Clark or the other explorers, but they had a guide, an American Indian guide named Many Moons.
Interesting.
So I wondered, and it wasn't until years later when it dawned on me. I do sketch work, and every time I would do a man, it would look like an Indian. And so one time I erased him, but the pattern was still on the paper. I'm like, I'm going to make him a spirit, and I did all this stuff. And it was years later when I thought, I wonder if I kept drawing one of my spirit guides.
Yeah. One of my first experiences with a spirit guide like that was when I first did reconnective healing, Eric Pearl's healing methodology, the reconnection.
Interesting.
I had 3 entities come through my husband to be my sentinel, which kind of like your guide, it protects people like us from receiving too much energy. I'm sure we all have sentinels. Anything that would damage our human body, they kind of protect us from. And one of them's name was Charlie White, and he was a flathead, I think, Indian out of Montana.
Wow.
And when my husband was telling me about him, we Googled him and found him. He actually existed.
Wow.
And so there was really good early validation. Like for you, when I was just starting my serious, I guess even before I knew about it, but my journey, spiritual journey. Yeah. He's not the one that stayed with me. I have Red Eagle, a Apache Indian that has been with me since I started this journey, but I'm sure we all have them. We're just not aware of them.
Right. And when I found out, when I found out I could talk to them at any time, and I really feel that they enjoy making fun of me. You know, the thoughts I have that I would say to myself, I'm like, I know that's you making fun of me, and then, we all have clairaudience, clairvoyant, etc. And it was about a few years into my journey when I just said, I have a new clair, and it's called clairgoofiance. And
I like that.
That's a good one. Yes.
I just have to, there's so much stress and sadness and worry. And there's so much in this world that there needs to be more laughter. And I just feel like they help me bring that in. And I mean, I make sure it's all in appropriate situations, but
Sure.
One
They do
risk,
tell us we take ourselves way too seriously
We
down
do.
here.
Yeah.
No.
So one
like-
time, my neighbor, whom I call my son from another mom, he was in the Navy and he wanted to go into either special forces or something like that.
Mhm.
And so he told me that I would be getting a phone call from someone from I think he said FBI,
Oh, wow.
and to do an interview. They want to make sure that he's a reputable kid, And so this guy did call, and he says he described himself for when he pulled up in my driveway. I know who he is.
Know who he was.
And he said, I'll be in a blue, and you name the car. I'm like, so are you the men in blue now, not men in black? And I'm like, why would you say? And he actually found it funny. And then when he came to the door the next day, he told me he'd show his ID. And when he did, I mean, things just come out sometimes. I don't even think. And I'm like, how do I not know that came from a Cracker Jack box? He goes, oh, actually it did. So, when I told my friend what I said, she told her husband, who was an ex-policeman, and no, she did not say that. And she's like, Ginger. Yes, she did say that. I couldn't help myself.
How could you not? And besides that was probably your spirit guide being playful.
Yeah. And it did make the whole interview, where I wasn't nervous or, it was, now I know that this guy has a personality and I'm not under interrogation. So
yeah,
it was helpful.
Well, if you didn't feel very comfortable with him, you'd have never said it. But
True.
it's just an indication of how close you guys were.
Yes. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So have you always been interested in the occult and all that, I don't know, spiritual stuff?
Yeah. So as I was growing up, I lived in Scotland for 2 years. I was, I think I was 7 when we went over there. So of course, all that fascinated me.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Supposedly the house that was in the field next to us, but up a ways, was haunted, And
I think everything in England, Ireland, and Scotland.
So
they're all.
It's always, the ghost stories always fascinated me.
Me
and then my
too.
mom always watched all these movies, and back then in the 70s, I mean, this movie came back out black and white. My first favorite horror film back then was The Creature from the Black Lagoon.
I remember that.
Yeah. So I've always been fascinated in cryptids and ghost stories and witchcraft, but I never studied witchcraft because I thought, oh my God, I'm going to be in trouble. But when I found out you could have magic within you and not be evil,
Right.
Yeah. So
magic does not equate evil.
right.
God knows
like
we can claim that it does, but magic does not contain evil. We're all magic, or we wouldn't be here. We couldn't even be here.
I know.
I mean, think about it. Every one of us
Well,
women are goddess.
Yeah, I had a friend. I lived in Long Beach, California. That's home base for me. And my neighbor said, "Do you want to go to a psychic fair?" I'm like, "Well, yes." And so we went there once a month. It was this cute little white church, and so there's where I got very fascinated in tarot. And this lady did something called the smoking billet.
Interesting.
And and that's just when my journey started. And I actually did a smoking billet reading for the collective before we went on. So at some point,
and what did it show you?
Well, I'll show you here. So for those of you who don't know a smoking billet, you take
I have no idea what that is.
Okay. You light a candle. And let me light this again. I just found this cute little receptacle thing to light the candle.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Let me say hi to Scott Scorpio Sun Tarot and Amanda Carroll and Jackie Gaparanda.
Jackie,
Diane,
Mary Ellen, and Diane G, and Denise McMillan. Thank you all for being here.
Yes,
really
enjoy your being here and seeing your comments.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what.
So you take a candle and then you take a piece of paper.
Okay.
I found what works really good is my sketch paper. Not all paper receives the smoke. And then you just barely let the tip of the flame lick the paper, and then you get let me show you this one real fast. You get images.
Yeah.
And then like in this image you can see a deer. So my reading for that is gentleness, kindness, family. There's a butterfly on his head, so transformation. There's a woman that I see. She looks like she's praying, and almost looks like Mother Mary, actually.
Yeah, so. I see all of that. Yes.
So I did a collective for us, and my first image, and I got this message that I don't know how well you can see it, but there's 3 images here. And I feel like this is the collective of the angels praying for us, watching over us and stuff.
Beautiful.
And as I turn this image here, I really got the feeling of like a otherworldly being also trying to assist us. So I just, everybody should know that the angels, I know life is hard for us sometimes, but the angels really are watching over us. And I feel like sometimes things can be worse for us than we feel they are. But they're helping, they're assisting and intervening with us. I also see like a little bumblebee community, and enjoy the sweetness of life. So that's another message for us. So what every image comes out different, and I just keep turning and turning until I like right now when I'm seeing through the screen, I'm seeing some sort of kind of like a deer, but it's little different than a deer. So again, family, and be kind and gentle to one another. But these are one of those things I could just keep going on and on. You keep turning, and so so
that's a different take on a card before the show. Hey, Sun Psychic Jean, welcome. Hi, Jean.
Hey,
I've actually done a reading for Jean using smoking billet.
Did you really?
Mm-hmm.
Fun.
So it's really fun. It's really fun.
Okay, how about we go, and I've got 3 or 4 questions, and I just thought we might as well go to that. Jay Marcus is asking, what's your most unique experience with the Fae book? But before you can answer that, when did you start communicating with the Fae?
That came later in years, and I'm still working on that. That was one of my I've had the intentions through the years, but this last new moon, I feel like I need to go deeper with them. And so I'm asking them to work with me even more. But, you know, I would have my crystals in a glass bowl, and I would hear something going through my crystals. And so there's a lot of activity around my house that, again, this wonderful medium, she's a Native American, and Asha Light Eagle, and she told me there's a lot of fays in my house with me and stuff. So so I don't have any like awesome unique experiences yet. I just know that they go through my things, and they love crystals. And I've heard pitter patter, you know, in my bedroom. My bedroom is very active, and not in the way I would like it to be. But I took my divining rods one time. One of my spiritual teachers lived on land, and she said there was healing vortex on her land. There was 2 vortexes. So I wanted to know if I had any vortexes. Well, in using the divining rods, I ended up in my bedroom and at the foot of my bed, and they just opened wide up, like, here it is, here it is. And if you're as sensitive with your energy, you could feel the like a tunnel. So I had a friend say that I created that portal. And I'm like, how? And I realized that's where I stood every morning doing some my prayers and talking to my guides and the creator and doing Reiki energy balls, energy healing. And so I'm guessing that's how it got created. So I don't know.
I think maybe you need to close that portal.
It's not active anymore.
Because that happened to me one time. I created a portal by accident in my backyard where I used to meditate every night, every day.
Yeah.
And it was unintentional. And at one point, my guide said, you have to close this portal, because we had another one in the house that was created for a specific reason. And that one stayed open. But this one was unintentional, and it was bringing, I don't remember exactly why they wanted me to close it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But unintentional energy is what I remember.
And I remember there was another one that I was told to close because we had visitors that we didn't need. They didn't realize we could see them. So they said, you need to go in and close that portal. And I said, okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You might want to ask your guides whether you want, because if you can't sleep at night, there's that much energy in your bedroom. That's not the place to have that type of energy. You need to move it to a different room so that you can get rest and
what I thought is because that's where I did all this stuff that I do.
That's where, you may be right.
Where all my crystals were, and I'm thinking, okay, there's just all these crystals are creating all this energy. So I've taken most of them out, but I've had this sleep issue since I was a little girl.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I see Chris Cassidy's question, ever do automatic drawing? I would like to delve into that, but I do what I called scribblemancy. I was playing one day and I told my friend, scribble on the paper. I want to see if I could read a scribble. And she did. She scribbled, and I saw like in cursive, it looked like a letter E. And then I saw what looked like a little foot with toes, little baby toes on it. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Isn't your grandson's name Ethan? She goes, yeah. And here's the cute little baby toes. And he wasn't very old,
Oh, how cute.
And and then later on, because she didn't want to say it in public, she goes, her suitor, his name started with an E, and he actually had a toe fetish, a foot fetish.
How funny. Interesting.
Oh, that reminds me. One of my smoking billet readings, I did it and I'm like, oh my. And it totally looked like let's just say two people entwined.
Okay.
And so I said, well, she was asking about a person. And I said, I've never done a specific question. Let's try it. And so, well, apparently your relationship is quite spicy. And then I saw like a teddy bear in this image too. So I brought that up. And then so come to find out, she had a one-night stand and a baby was born. And so that came out in, believe it or not, smoke.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was
very interesting, the different ways that each of us use to connect with spirit. And I would probably never see what you see in those smoke.
I know I would not.
They're beautiful, but I can't imagine.
I've always had this, since a little, just the imagination, very, very,
I've had to really work to open up my imagination because I did a lot of technical writing and technical things in my career, and it was 180 degrees from using your imagination. Yeah. I've really had to work to make my imagination work for me now.
I think that's funny. Go ahead, Heather.
Oh, I was going to say, which is funny because both of us together are such opposites, because where she was trying to open her imagination, I'm always trying to get grounded.
Yeah.
So.
I think that's what's helped me through the years. When I got serious about tarot, because I did runes for a while, numerology, a little bit of I Ching, but I decided to get serious about tarot, and then learning that through tarot, I think that's where I found out I could channel, because interesting information, I would read the card like, hey, this is, such and such. But all of a sudden, when I think I'm done with that message, things would just flow out. And I pick up that card, and I would see something in the artwork that I didn't notice before.
Right.
And
I think good card readers are channeling information.
Yeah.
They're in all their readings, or even as a mediumship, you're channeling the information from that other person.
Yeah.
It's we're all channelers. It just comes out in a different way for different people. And I think that's so wonderful that we're all unique in the way that
it really is.
Our messages come through. It's,
I think for me, the image, I love artwork. I'm an artist and I love artwork. And I think for me, the artwork is like the springboard to the mediumship part. I feel I still need a prompt. And, but what comes from that, it comes, I had a most wonderful comment one time from Miss Tarot D, and she put in the chat that she said, Ginger's psychic abilities transcend the tarot. And that was such what an honor for that kind of a comment. And I love artwork, and that's why I still like to use tarot. But again, it just springboards that.
I think some people use crystals in their hand. They hold crystals to help open themselves up to the energy. Everybody has different ways. It's really interesting.
I love it.
Let me see if we had any other questions real quick. Something Amanda Carroll said cracked me up. We had the best cemetery in Oakland, California, Mountain View. Learned to smoke and drive there. It's huge. Spent a lot of time there as a kid. Amanda Carroll, we had one just like that in Fort Worth, and every kid I know learned to drive. I remember the first time that my dad took me down there, he said, I'll take you to the cemetery. They're already dead. You can't hurt anybody. I was like, okay.
And I had a wonderful cemetery behind church that my dad was at, and it was when I was a kid. I loved going back there and reading about the people that were there. And sometimes it was very hard. It was very, very old. And I was probably one of the well, definitely in the minority, that was really upset when they tore it up and moved everybody and made a parking lot.
Oh,
Right.
And it really bugged the heck out of me. I said, that's where I went to.
it's monuments, right?
Yeah, I wasn't by myself there. I know I wasn't.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Mm.
Diane G's asking, how do we accidentally open portals? Diane, I don't remember how I opened that portal. Heather and I worked with my husband David to open a particular portal for a particular reason, and we worked on opening that uh, as a triumvirate, and that was part of our mission here, was to open this particular portal. The one I
Wow.
opened accidentally, I believe I was sitting in Mother Earth in my Merkaba or Merkaba, however you call it,
Yeah,
whatever.
right.
I call it a Merkaba because that
I do.
works. But I was in my Merkaba in the center of the earth, sending out unconditional love like every day
Right, right.
for several years. And I believe that had something to do with it because that was the spot that I was sitting in
Right.
every day.
Yeah.
I think it's the
Right.
energy.
Yeah, it had
Yeah.
to do with the energy that I was
Yeah.
sending out or
Yeah.
receiving. Who knows?
Yeah,
But
because in mine, that's the spot I stood every morning.
mhm.
I would totally ground. And when I would ground, I would go like deep
Yeah,
grounding.
to go deep, deep,
And then
deep.
connecting with source. So there's that
Yep,
power center there. And then
exactly. So you
add
are creating a portal
Reiki,
right there.
and yeah, and add Reiki into it. I would make a little ball, energy ball, and put, healing and, all that kind of fun stuff. And,
Hmm.
and speaking to the creator for my prayers and my guides. And yeah, like you said, it's the energy that ends up,
And it just builds upon
it's a
itself day after day after
constant.
day after
But
day.
I
If you're
would say all
doing
the time, it's only love and light may exist or come through this portal. So
me
I've
too.
never, I have, a lot of activity through my house through the years, but it's not once has it ever been malevolent or made me feel uncomfortable.
Right.
So definitely always putting in that protection, you know, yeah. So,
Absolutely. Diane G says that's interesting. I don't want to accidentally open a portal. She's been meditating in the same spot for 2 years. I
That's
don't know if
okay,
that,
but make sure you put the protections in.
yeah, you just keep your protections up.
and I'm
I
thinking
didn't know
just
that you would normally
meditating.
do that.
Yeah. My thoughts, just meditating alone isn't going to open a
No,
portal. That's
no,
yourself, your own portal.
yeah.
But when I was
Yeah, I
doing
don't think that
such
would create a portal. But
energy,
Heather and I were doing a lot of energy work on the planet,
Mhm.
tons of energy work on the planet. And if you'll remember, it was during COVID. That was a big part of it. And really, all we did was work on our spirituality during COVID. So, I mean, there was a lot of
Right.
energy going on.
yeah,
I was channeling a bunch of different entities.
Yeah, she was.
yeah,
It was it was
fascinating.
it was wild. It was wild times. I'll just put it that way. So I think
Yeah.
that
So I
all
wonder
had
in this image here, when I said there was another otherworldly entity that I was seeing in here, it's almost like an angel, but it was in such a way that it was otherworldly. And maybe
mhm.
that's just that saying, hey, we're still here for you,
Could be.
could
You
be.
Yeah.
never.
Oh, we know they're still here.
Yeah, Diane says, "I'm relieved. Meditation alone doesn't necessarily open
No,
them."
no, no, no. Yeah.
Oh my
No.
God! Let me tell you, girls, we would try to keep the hurricanes away from Key West. That's where we were living at a time,
Pretty
and
well succeeded.
we put a dome of protection around Key West that first year, and
Yeah.
Hurricane Irma came through, and Key West was fine, but just up the Keys
Oh,
was
Was it?
devastated. So then we decided after that year we needed to do the whole Keys to protect them. And we've been doing it ever since. And Key West has not had a direct hit since
That's awesome.
2016, I think 2015. I don't remember when their last direct hit was, but not since we were there. And since we've moved, we both keep that energy up because this is a hell of a season for hurricanes.
Yeah.
This year is going to be more destructive than normal.
Really?
Yeah. Because of the El Nino, changing up from El Nino to El Nino.
That and all the sun energy.
Yes.
Excuse me?
All those energies coming from the sun.
Yeah. It just makes it worse. So I've been working really I'm sure Heather has too, but I've been working really hard in the Caribbean because there's been so much activity down there.
Trying to push it out.
I want to take a family vacation, my sons and I, to, somewhere fun like that, or to that Atlantis, that theme park Atlantis. But I'm so nervous going, what's the time of year to go that it's not going to be a hurricane?
Well,
there's never any no.
I know. So
hurricane is hurricane season's like May 31st to November 31st or something like that.
That's a long season.
It is a very long season.
But the worst is August and September. Those are the two worst months.
Oh, and here we are.
Yeah, it's not a good time. There's a bunch of stuff going on down there.
Yeah, there's a lot of
unwind them or keep them out in the ocean so they don't.
Yes. That's awesome. Yeah.
Sometimes
doing damage.
Yeah. I learned about working with Apollo, and so like I said, I have a son with special needs, and so every year they have Special Olympics at Furman University. And there's been a few times where it's in the forecast to rain. And I would call upon Apollo and ask for his assistance to, put a dome over university. That way it won't rain, and at least keep the rains away until after. I thank him because every time I prayed for him to do that, it's happened. If it's very rainy in the mornings, when I used to have to leave to work at 5:30 in the morning, but I would know that there's kids that have to wait at the bus stops, and I said, okay, I realize it has to rain, but if you could at least make it a light rain around the times children are on the bus. And I would no sooner say that the rains would actually lighten up, if not stop. And so
I love that. So Apollo, that's good to know.
Apollo works with the weather.
That's very good to know. I'll ask Apollo to start joining me in my work with the weather.
Put him on your team.
You guys, you just can't believe the power that we actually have. I mean, we're talking about manipulating the weather. It can be done. You just have to believe in yourself and know that it's for whatever's for the highest good.
And remember that it's simply manifestation. So manifestation does work.
It works.
Just think about how easy it is to get your parking place with the MBOs. The most benevolent outcome. How many times have you nailed your parking place? 9 times out of 10, I nail it.
Right.
When I to use it. When I don't remember to say something,
I
don't get parking. So if I can do it with a parking place, what's to stop me from doing it with anything else? With the weather, with what I want to manifest for myself. The potential is out there. It's just our tiny little brains want to put us in a little box that says, no, I can't do that. I'm
telling you, my life changed when I started this spiritual journey, and I started after I became a single mom. And so knowing that you can call upon your guides for anything really helped me through the trying times.
See that?
Really did. And they are so willing to work with us. And
if you ask, you have to remember to ask. They can't help us if you don't ask.
They're not allowed to intervene, but we have to ask. And knowing that I can start my day just having a conversation. Apollo is the I think he is a Greek god. I don't know if he's necessarily the sun god, but I do know he's over weather amongst other things, but that's what I call him on for. But I mean, I have regular conversations with my guides. And again, that's how I found out that they like to joke with me. And when I need a little bit of a smack in the back of the head, you know, some funny thought.
Excuse me. He is God of the sun. Apollo drives the sun across the sky each day in his chariot. I remember that now.
I love that.
Pulled by 4 horses. He's the god of prophecy, healing, music, archery, truth, and the arts.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
So, yeah. And his sister is Artemis, who I try to work with. When I say work with things or beings, it's not an everyday thing, you know.
Yes.
But Artemis is Apollo's sister, and she's all in the nature, you know, and so, you know, calling upon her to help heal. And that's what I do, and I ask everybody invite to do is when I'm grounding, I make sure that I ask that love and healing also go where Mother Earth needs it.
Oh,
so
right.
If we all get, as a collective, keep sending Mother Earth as we ground, just ask and intend that she receives healing as well.
Sending her love.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. What I actually do every morning is send love to Mother Earth and all beings on Earth.
Yeah.
And that way everybody's covered. I'm covered in love. You're covered in love.
We're all covered in love.
We're all covered in unconditional love and unity consciousness.
And if you remember that love is the strongest thing there is, and that it always wins out.
It's the strongest frequency, and it's the frequency of the 5th dimension, unconditional love.
So you can't.
And we all have it in our heart. We all have it right here in our hearts, our higher hearts. Well, Ginger, time has run out. I can't believe how fast that went.
Wow.
I hope you'll come back. I really enjoyed your visit and learn more about you. Thank you so much. And everybody in the chat, thanks for being with us tonight.
Yes.
Really
and making the comments. We really appreciate them.
Love your comments.
Can I share a quick story real quick? Because we're on the
sure.
vibrational love and everything.
Yes.
When I got my attunement for Reiki level 3 on a Sunday, I went to school the next day. Again, I'm the food service manager there. And every morning after all the big kids go, they would bring the little babies, the, you know, K4, the 4-year-olds and stuff.
Yeah, love that age.
I would always have this one, little girl that would just look at me like I had angel wings or something. She was just, the way she would look at me. She would give me a hug every day. And then soon this little boy started, you know, he wanted a hug too. So it was very normal for those two to hug me every morning as they were leaving. So after I got my attunement, the next morning, they came up, my usual two came up for a hug. And then another one came up, and then another. They stood in line to hug me, and the teacher's going, and I'm just like, and so I feel like they felt that wonderful energy of what I had learned over the weekend. And I am all about love, unconditional love. There's not enough of it. And it was the most wonderful, wonderful experience I think I've ever had.
That's beautiful.
And kids will recognize that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love it. My son-in-law works with the little ones in school. And he's a very gentle, loving human being. And all the kids do that with him. They all come up and hug him. They all adore him. He's just exudes that unconditional love and joy, that childhood wonder. Kids really respond to that.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for your beautiful story.
So much.
Yes, thank you so much.
Oh, it's been great. Ginger
I love
gives
sharing my journey. Thank you so much.
I love that.
I do, and they mean that literally. I like
Okay.
to blow bubbles.
Oh, I love bubbles.
Bubbles.
So
Thank
bubble
you.
blessings for everybody.
Bubble blessings for the collective. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Ginger, when are you on again? When are you on next?
Oh my gosh. I think so. I took a little bit of a break because of work. I started at a new school, working in. I do the truancies for the children, you know, the absences and stuff. And I thought I'm going to be exhausted, so I took a little bit of break. So I have on next Thursday, unless I keep wanting to do a solo. I haven't done a solo in 2 years. Ivana Intuitive, 7 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday. Yeah. And then possibly that Saturday, Nancy, Crone's Intuition, and Farah Tarot and Astrology, you know, we do a monthly show. And so we call it I call it the three whispers of the three voices. I do tarot, Nancy does oracle, and Farah does astrology. It's really
How
interesting.
fun. That sounds like a
Now, let me tell you, anybody, astrology does not lie. I'm just
No, it doesn't.
lay
It
that
really
out
doesn't.
right now. But thank
Your
you.
details and your contact details are in the description of this video. So if you would like to contact you for a reading, you guys, her email is in the description. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you, chat, for being here. We love you all and appreciate, really appreciate this community.
Stay up, guys. Stay up.
So go out and shine your light.
Yes.
Let your freak flag fly and send that love to Mother Earth and our beautiful planet. She can use all the help she can get right now, as can humankind.
Of all kinds.
Until next time.
Bye-bye, everyone.